Hello, everybody. So my name is Shane. I run a YouTube channel called Lukewarm Takes, and today I just really wanted to talk a little bit about the free-to-play experience in light of some of the recent discussion with updating the reward system in Hearthstone, the Battle Pass potential model. I don't want to dive into that too much because a lot of other YouTubers, Regis, Zeddy, a lot of Hearthstone YouTubers have already covered that. So what I want to talk about a little bit is where we are right now as a free-to-play player, where I'm at, and just some things that I would like to see going forward that I think would be really simple changes that would help free-to-play players such as myself to be able to just get more out of Hearthstone. So now, just real quick background. So I have been playing Hearthstone since just shortly after release. So not in beta, I wasn't a beta player, but I jumped on after that. Took a couple-year break, and then I came back sometime, if I remember right, it was sometime around Wrath of the Lich King, is about when that's not Wrath, Knights of the Frozen Throne. Knights of the Frozen Throne, I came back, and I've been playing on and off ever since. Free-to-play, I've spent, I think, a total of $10 on this game. I bought one of those get 10 packs for $10 packs. And other than that, I've pretty much been free to play the entire time. Now, I do okay. So right now, I've finally started kind of grinding again, trying to rank up. I'm rank 7 diamond. I've been as high as rank 6. I am on a huge losing streak right now, which I'll kind of talk about that in a little bit. And then I play wild sometimes. I'm gold 9 in wild, and that was pretty much just spamming Mill Galakron Rogue. So nothing super impressive, right? I'm not a legendary player. That's fine. I'm not going to any tournaments anytime soon. That's fine. So just so you know a little bit about me. Now, being free to play, it's not a terrible experience, right? Like you guys see, I can get to rank 7 diamond in standard play with just free to play. I haven't bought any cards. I can even rank up in wild a little bit, which is impressive just considering how ridiculously overpowered some of those decks are. The MMR system, I think, actually does a really good job of pitting you against players that you can at least somewhat viably level up against. It's not all terrible. So anyways, so the first thing that I want to talk about with the free-to-play experience is I want to talk about cards. So cards are the most important part of a card game. This isn't going to come as a surprise to everyone. And Hearthstone has what's called rarities. So this is a common thing. Magic the Gathering does the same thing, right? Where you have rarities of cards, and these determine how likely you are to open them in a pack. Sometimes it determines how strong they are. I'll get to that in a little bit, because it's not always. But, so Hearthstone has 4 basic rarities. So you have the white gemstone, which indicates a common card. You have, let me see if I can find one here just using Demon Hunter. You have a blue gemstone, which indicates rare rarity. Gosh, I hate how that sounds. But so rare rarity. You have purple gemstone, which indicates epic rarity. And then you have, last but not least, let's hop over to Kain. Kain is an orange gemstone. Orange indicates legendary. And based on the gemstones there, the different gemstones are basically how hard they are to acquire in a pack. So when you open a standard Hearthstone pack, and I'll just open one for you guys right now. So, standard Hearthstone pack, this is the latest expansion, Scholomance Academy. When you open a Hearthstone pack, as most of you watching this video already know, you go, you put it in the dink queue. Woo! Alright, bad. Alright, so you are guaranteed to get at least 1 rare card, which sounds great, except for, again, rare is only the second lowest rarity above only common. In this pack, I was slightly lucky. I got 2 rares, which is great, but not a whole lot. Now, one of the nice things that Hearthstone does is if you get duplicate cards, because you can't take digital cards and go to a card shop and sell them off, you can disenchant your duplicates for what is called dust. Dust in Hearthstone, of course, is a mechanic by which you can take this dust and you can redeem it to craft certain cards. So if I just type in rare and I go to crafting, oh look at that, I don't own this. Boom, I can redeem 100 dust and I can get my very own copy of Soul Shear for 100 dust. Now I don't want this because I'm not sold on the Soul Hunter or the Soul Fragment package yet. But it's pretty cool, right? I think it's a good way to balance. I can't go to a card shop and redeem or sell my Hearthstone cards, so you can dust them for a fraction of the value. Now, as you'll notice, with all of these, they all have a amount that you can craft them for and an amount that you can disenchant them for. So if you don't want a card, even if you don't already have 2 of them, you can still disenchant it. Hearthstone will make sure to give you this little message, and then you can proceed to disenchant it if you want. Again, I don't want to. I'm trying to collect as many cards as possible. This is where free-to-play players start to run into some issues. Because the disenchanting is not proportional across the board. It doesn't quite line up. So, let's take a look at Kayn, right? Kayn Sun Fury, legendary minion. He costs 1,600 dust to craft. And you can disenchant him, you get a quarter of that value back. Again, you know, fairly similar to like a real life experience. You're not going to get the full value of a card when you hand it in. Now, most card shops, from what I've seen, you can get about 50-ish% of the value of your card when you trade it in, depending on, you know, the card and things like that. So, like, when I used to play Pokemon, right, if I was to go and trade in a very valuable, meta-relevant EX card, I could get about 50% of the value on that. Hearthstone only gives you 25%. Again, understandable, but it's pretty scummy. Now, that's for legendaries. Let's go to epic cards. Epic cards. That one, I gotta find one that's not a default epic. Let's just do this. Okay, Crystal Merchant. Crystal Merchant, 400 dust to craft it, you get 100 back. So again, you get 25% back. Not bad, not great, but whatever. You can disenchant 4 epics, you can get 1 other epic of your choosing. Now, it starts to degrade after that point. So let's go to rare. 100 dust to craft, 20 dust you get back. So you go from 25% return to a 20% return. Not terrible, especially since you're guaranteed 1 rare in every pack. It makes sense that you're going to get a little bit less for these, but a 5% decrease, still reasonable. And now this is where I run into a huge problem with Hearthstone. Commons. 40 dust to craft a common, you get 5 dust back. We've jumped from 20% down to 12.5%. So a 7.5% drop. You have to disenchant 8 common cards, 8 of them, to craft 1 common card. And unless you're playing Highlander decks, you're almost always going to need 2 copies of that common. And this is where I start to run into a problem as a free-to-play player, is because this is most of what I get when I open packs, right? And I only open about 1 a day. So in the course of an expansion, or in a month cycle, in a seasonal cycle, I get to open about 30 packs. And most of those are loaded with garbage commons that don't help the majority of the decks that I'm trying to build, and that I would want to disenchant, but I don't get a whole lot back. Now, the nice thing is every once in a while you'll open up a gold like this, and it's gold. You have 2 copies of the regular version. You don't need the gold, so I usually just disenchant these, right? And that's, in this case, 50 free dust. I'm not going to keep that. And every once in a while, I'll just go through my collection and I'll find all my goldens that I have dupes for, and I'll just disenchant them all. And that's pretty nice. But for a free-to-play player, after a while, you just kind of peak and you rely completely on RNG to get good cards. So honestly, there's a pretty easy solution to this. And that's just bump both rares and commons up to 25% disenchant value, just like you would for epics and legendaries. And I think that's completely fair, right? You take your cards here, and then all of a sudden, you know, your average pack is about 4 commons, one rare. All of a sudden, you can then take your 4 commons that you don't want, disenchant them, and get 1 common that you do want. Again, that's still a 4-to-1 redemption value, and you're still going to probably have to do that a second time in order to get the set of the commons. Like, for example, this one, you don't want to run Reno Libram Paladin. Why would you do that? Because then it defeats parts of the synergy, because then you're not getting as much value out of your Libram, so you're going to want to craft both. No. A lot of the argument towards this is, well, if you're a free-to-play player, you need to not focus on completing a collection, and you just need to focus on playing your one deck. And a lot of YouTubers, Hearthstone tubers, have talked about this, model, have shown you how to do this. Disguised Toast, I know, a while back, did a video where he just went from the basic set Hunter and created a Smork aggro deck and just beat people up until he died. And that's great, right? That'll accomplish what a lot of people set out to do, which is it'll accomplish your ability to get to Legend, High Legend. And that's great for those kind of players. I'm not one of those kind of people. I've never hit Legend. I would like to hit Legend, but that's mostly because it gets me an extra epic card to add to my collection, right? And that's most of the reason that I level up each month, is because I just need extra cards, right? All those packs are super helpful to me. All the free epics are super helpful to me because I'm not going to get them otherwise. I don't have the money to get them otherwise. Now, I've done this before. So back around when, oops, sorry, that's the wrong deck. Back around the time when Frozen Throne and the Death Knights and that whole set was intact, I made this deck. It is a almost complete version of old school Q-Block. And this is all that I played. This is the pretty much only deck that I played. And it worked, right? I was able to level, and I was able to win, and I was able to feel like I was part of the, the Hearthstone community experience, right? I felt like I was playing the same game as everybody else. And then some stuff started happening with this one. So the deck got nerfed, right? Dark Pact got nerfed. Back in the day when you were able to run it, Possessed Lackey got nerfed. And that was a pretty brutal nerf for Q-Block. You lost this. This used to be a 5-mana card. All of a sudden you have to play it a turn later. Not quite as good. This went from restoring 8 health. They halved it all the way down to 4 health, and all of a sudden you just kind of died. I really wish they would have at some point buffed it back up to 6 health. But that's a whole nother story for another day. And then all of a sudden I'm just, screwed. Because the deck that I played, the one deck that I invested all of my dust into, is gone. It's not gone, but it's severely hurt by these nerfs, right? And the cards that they nerfed are common, which would have gotten me, if I disenchanted it, 40 dust a piece, which, by the way, you couldn't disenchant it because you still need this to go with your epic cube, right? You still need that card. And then the other one was, what did I say? Possessed Lackey, which, granted, that one you could take out of your deck, and it wasn't terrible. The deck was still playable. But it's gone all of a sudden, right? And you lose out on that resource. To top that off, certain other decks at the time, like Odd Paladin, Upgraded Hero Power Paladin. I can never keep them straight. That did not get nerfed, and so you're then forced to run some things like 6/6 Dread Infernals, because you just need a battle cry to potentially wipe out all of those guys. And then at that point, you're then getting away from the optimal deck by having to run in tech cards against decks that weren't nerfed. Additional to this issue is Reno decks. Reno decks run on the premise that a class has enough good cards that you can run one a piece of all of them, and still have a reasonable deck. And it's enabled by specific Highlander enablers like Zephyrus, which gives you an insane potential swing turn, and Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, which gives you an insane potential swing turn. As well as other things like legendary minions that have really good independent effects. The problem for free-to-play players is if these decks are ever the meta decks, the top decks, again, you're in a lot of trouble. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one was free. But 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. legendaries in this deck. All right, 1600 dust a pop. So that is 14,400 dust in order to craft all of the legendaries for this deck. Not to mention some of the cards that are rares and epics that still go into the deck. Cabal Shadow Priest is an epic. Now, granted, that one's really old. Everyone should have that card by now, at least one of them. But it's a problem. Same thing for Reno Mage, right? Free-to-play players, if Reno Mage is ever the top meta deck, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 legendaries. What are you gonna do? Nothing. You're just not gonna be able to run Reno Mage. On top of that, we add in the problem with adventure-specific cards. $20 for the adventure, and then you can get these additional cards for free, which is great for people who aren't free-to-play, because spending $20 for them is, I imagine, nothing. It doesn't mean anything. For me, again, $20, I'm not spending that on packs, which is 100 cards. You spend $20, it's a little less than that, but it's about $1 a pack. It's a lot of cards. It's 100 cards. It then comes into the issue where you can't craft those at all. And so then we have something like Standard Bomb Warrior, where I have a decent amount of the cards, and it doesn't require as many legendaries. This one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 legendaries. But one of the best cards in the deck is Risky Skipper, which is a rare, so I would definitely craft 2 of these for 200 dust, but I can't, because they're exclusive to the adventure. And this card, specifically Risky Skipper, has been driving me absolutely nuts ever since Galakrond's Awakening came out, because it's basically the best warrior card, and because I'm free to play, I cannot get it. There's nothing that I can do to obtain this card, and it is incredibly frustrating, because I like warrior. You want to take a look at my most played classes in Hearthstone. Warrior is number 1, 56, right? It's not even particularly close. That's got 7 levels on Warlock, which I played a decent chunk of Warlock. So, just a couple things that I wanted to talk about today, and I want to say, I think Blizzard has done a good job from where we started in Hearthstone in terms of free-to-play. Original free-to-play Hearthstone, was just garbage. As the set came out, it just felt bad. You'd be getting these, 30 gold quests per day, that you basically never earned anything. There was no way to get packs. Your 10 gold per wins, woo. It didn't matter. And I think they've done a good job of putting some things in, like giving you rewards for ranking up, like modifying. If I remember, epics used to be 800 dust, and now they're 400. Doing that so that you could get epics a little bit more easily. Always, this isn't something they changed, but always including the ability to get a free classic pack in Tavern Brawl. Now that is also something I think you probably need to take a look at, because most people playing the game already have classic pack. Anyways, that's great. But there's still a lot of problems. So a couple things that I would like to see Blizzard fix, independent of the rewards. Make commons disenchant for 10 dust instead of 5. Give me the ability to get cards at a slightly faster rate, because I still have to disenchant 40 commons in order to get 1 epic. And most decks run more than 1 epic. So, fix that. They did a good job with giving returning players really good decks, right? One of the decks, I believe, was the Reno Mage, and I think one of them was the Reno Hunter, which is great, because then they get a lot of really cool epics and legendaries and things like that. But for people like me, who are free to play, who have just been playing consistently, we got screwed over, right? We get absolutely nothing out of that deal, and all of a sudden we have a bunch of these people. Everyone's now running around with a Zephyrus and a Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, which is absolutely bonkers, considering Zephyrus is so good as a singleton card. Some people will run him in cards with duplicates just because he's amazing. I still don't have him. So do something about that. Do something for your free-to-play players who have been playing the game, who have been watching your tournaments, who have been viewing, streamers, and talking to their other friends about this game, and basically got absolutely nothing out of it other than, a bunch of crappy comments. And, I watched the Invitational yesterday, and I got 2 packs for watching for 4 hours. Like, dear goodness. It was still really fun. Like, don't get me wrong, I had a good time. But wow, and I had to disenchant most of this because I own every common currently in Standard. I checked yesterday just because I got bored. And then just the very last thing, because this one drives me crazy. Please make adventure-specific cards craftable. Please. Everyone would spend 200 dust on Risky Skipper if you would just let us. Because I think playing Warrior is really fun. I think going off Risky Skipper Armor Smith is incredibly fun to watch. And I really like to do that. But I can't because I'm not going to spend $20 to get 2 cards. So these are just some of my thoughts. I know I can't speak for the entire free-to-play community, the entire Hearthstone community as a whole. But these are just some things that have been bugging me lately that I just wanted to get off my chest. If you have any other questions, comments, concerns, alternate opinions, anything like that, please go ahead and leave those in the comment section. This isn't primarily a Hearthstone channel, but it is one of the games that I'm playing a lot right now. And so every once in a while, one of my hot takes, lukewarm takes, is going to be on video games that I play, which I know might not interest the entire audience, but it's just something that I really think is interesting to me and something that I'd like to talk about. So, with that out of the way, thank you very much for coming to my Hearthstone TED Talk. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys with a new video soon. Thanks, and have a great rest of your day.